how do stories exist? You know, when people ask, well, what's the truth of this? How truthful is that? I mean, there's no way to understand a story, you know, without mediating it somehow, whether it's, you know, through a retelling or somebody writes an article or a thing or your own memory. It's impossible to have a distilled, purified, definitive, final, you know, and it really becomes a question of how and why do we examine things and how do we consume them. And I find often that I don't relate or appreciate the manner in which stories are marketed and consumed, you know, like junk food. I'm talking about like the news, how something that has a sensational aspect to it might be manufactured quickly and consumed and, you know, move on, and what of it was disregarded. And so this story, which was not that well known, the specifics of Capote going to Kansas and to write about one thing and then encountering these murderers and realizing that this was not a short story for the New Yorker, but this was going to be a novel, and not a fictional novel, a non-fiction novel, and this would be his, you know, great opus of his, you know, just realizing all of that, and what he managed to see within this story, and how deeply he reached into who these people were and who he was and what that relationship was, and how that could be communicated. Is a very stimulating idea, and I think that there's quite a bit of room to explore that in film as well, and there's a nice, you know, parallel to a film like this, because the same questions that Capote faced about writing that book would be presented to the making of this film. But I did receive a letter from Harper Lee after the film came out, a few months after it had come out, and she sent a 3-page letter saying, you must know that quite a bit of this did not happen exactly as depicted. This didn't look like this, and this didn't happen quite like that. But this is an example of how fiction can lead to the heart of truth. And if you want a quote from me that you can use, and nobody had asked her, I mean, this is unsolicited, she said, you can say, quote, the film told the truth about Truman. Those are the sort of parameters of which trying to work. That there is an essential truth beneath this thing, and it's very easy to get caught up in the particulars. And as we all know, anyone who's followed a political campaign, facts and statistics are the medium of the worst form of lies, And if anyone takes you to task about a fact, is it true? Is it what it's adding up to and communicating? Is it true? And these films, each one of them, to me, is larger than the story. It's about the story, and it attempts to honor the truth of the story and the individuals involved. But they're meaningful because they all have an allegorical quality, and within them you can examine themes that I think are larger than the stories.